everyone, and welcome. Thank you for attending today's webinar with Fullscript and Dr. Ian Hoffman. My name's Kaylee. I am very excited to be here today with Dr. Hoffman to discuss a topic that's quite popular, how to qualify for tax-free student loan forgiveness. But before we hear from our host, I have a couple housekeeping items I want to go over. First, as a reminder, this webinar is being recorded, so everyone who registered will get access to the recording and any additional resources we have after the event. Our webinars also live on fullscript.com/webinars, so you can always find it there as well. And if you've attended today, you will also receive a follow-up from Dr. Hoffman himself with more additional information, free resources, and even a free gift, so stay tuned for that. Throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, we will have a live Q&A at the end, some time for live Q&A. So add your questions there's a question section on your GoToWebinar dashboard. Feel free to add them in there throughout the webinar. I'll be kind of monitoring and collecting them for the Q&A at the end. So I'm happy to introduce Dr. Ian Hoffman today. Dr. Ian Hoffman is a chiropractor, nonprofit founder, and CEO of the Student Loan Eraser. In 2013, Dr. Hoffman was honored as Alumni of the Year by Life Chiropractic College West, and it was also the year that an encounter with a young girl with stage 4 cancer inspired him to create a nonprofit organization to expand access to care for more people in need. Shortly after starting the nonprofit, Dr. Hoffman discovered and was able to qualify for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, and the Student Loan Eraser program was born. Dr. Hoffman now teaches professionals how to expand access to their care, qualify for public service loan forgiveness, and get their student loans erased. So I won't hold everyone back any longer. I'm going to pass the controls over to our host, and I'm going to pop back in for the live Q&A. So we'll see you then.
All right. Thanks, Kaylee. I just want to make sure everyone can, first of all, hear me and see my screen. So you guys, can you go over to the question area or chat box, just pop your first name in there real quick and let me know if you can hear me. All right. Hi, Zach. Brian and Antoinette, I got your email or your messages already. We'll get into that. Michael, Bonnie, Janine, Becca, Suzanne, Haley, Kelly, Katrina, Matthew, Shane, what's up, Robin? What's up, Deanna? What's up, Samantha? Hey, Miriam, Debbie, Lacey. Man, there's a ton of people on here. We just passed 210. We've had over 2,000 register for this web class. I am stoked to get this information out to you guys. So I'm Dr. Ian Hoffman. I want to welcome you officially today to today's web class. We're gonna fly through this material because I've condensed my last 90-minute web class into about an hour. And so I don't want you to miss a single important detail. Please do yourself a favor, give this your full focus and attention. I am super grateful for your time, and I promise to deliver massive value. So let's jump right in. The title of this presentation is How to Qualify for Tax-Free Student Loan Forgiveness in 3 Simple Steps. And I know some of you are probably thinking this sounds too good to be true, or there must be some kind of catch. You know, I get that. I actually thought the same thing when I first heard about student loan forgiveness, but then I was able to qualify. And over the past few years, I've successfully helped hundreds of healthcare professionals. I know this sounds insane, but helped them qualify for over $100 million in savings using the exact same information that I'm going to share with you guys today. You fired up? All right. Awesome. Cool, guys. And so, hey, Reba, hey, Kate, hey, Joan, hey, Kip, hey, Michelle, hey, Richard, hey, Jane. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for putting all your names in here. Hi, Neha. Hi, Antoinette. Hi, Dr. Steven, Kelly. Man, we got a ton of people. I'm so stoked. So let's keep going. I want to mention, I'm not trying to sell anything on this web class. This is just to give you free information. Also, this is obviously, you know, there's going to be a lot of questions. I get that. We're going to save those questions to the end. So if you have a question as we go through, put it in the question box. Anything that I don't get to live on the webinar, I'm going to do my best to respond one-on-one via email, or like I said, I'll give you a link to a free consultation at the end, and we can go over all your questions on a phone call with me personally. So just want to give you access to that. This is going to be super valuable because it's going to help you. This phone call is going to help you quickly implement everything you're going to learn today. And it's my free gift to make it super easy for you to have the answers that you need. I'm going to give away a bunch of time over the next few weeks to answer your questions individually, because I know how stressful student loan debt can be, and I want to help. But it's important to stay to the end of this web class in order for you to get the most value and ask the best questions on our call. So for those of you who have never heard of this program, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program before, it's a US federal program created in 2007. For those who meet just 3 requirements to qualify, the government will erase your entire student loan debt and any outstanding interest 100% tax-free up to 15 years faster than with the income-driven repayment plans. We'll get into more of those details in just a second, but that's why PSLF is the best, the fastest, and the only tax-free form of student loan forgiveness. And I'm going to show you exactly how to meet the 3 requirements to qualify. But before we go deeper into the PSLF program, there's actually a more common type of student loan forgiveness that happens automatically on the income-driven repayment plans. Most of the companies out there offering to help borrowers qualify for student loan forgiveness, they do nothing more than help you enroll in an income-driven repayment plan, because these plans lower your monthly payment by stretching your repayment timeline to 20 or 25 years. And at that point, any remaining debt will be forgiven. Now that sounds like a pretty good deal, right? Well, here's the catch. Most people qualify for a payment that's even less than the interest. And that means their balance never actually goes down. If that's you, you might be thinking you don't have to worry about how much interest is accumulating because it'll be forgiven anyway, but it's not quite that simple. So your debt will be considered earned income the year it's forgiven and then taxed. So that's why I call the income-driven repayment plans fake forgiveness, because the government is transferring a big portion of your remaining debt from the Department of Education to the IRS. The reason is the IRS has way more authority to collect. The IRS can even garnish your Social Security wages in retirement or any tax refunds you might be eligible for. Unfortunately, most people on these plans have no clue to expect a huge tax bill or that it can be completely avoided with public service loan forgiveness. So if you compare the IDR plans, income-driven repayment plans on the left side in red, with the PSLF program on the right side now in green, you'll see that the PSLF will give you the best of both worlds. You get to keep your low monthly payment with an income-driven plan, but you get your debt erased in less than half the time, and it's totally tax-free. Also, you can work towards both forms of loan forgiveness at the same time, which is an amazing built-in backup plan. So my goal for today's web class is to show you how to break the chains of student debt slavery and meet the 3 requirements to qualify for public service loan forgiveness, potentially saving you hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's no limit to how much can be forgiven, so the more you owe, the more you're going to save. And you don't have to be a doctor to qualify. When I first heard about this amazing opportunity, I was like a lot of you guys probably. I was definitely not a student loan expert. I just knew the government was taking a chunk of money out of my bank account every month, and the mountain of debt was a big source of anxiety for me. So if you had asked me a few years ago, I never would have thought I'd be helping people get their student loans erased. So if you're asking yourself, who is this guy Ian, and why is he qualified to teach me about student loans? Let me tell you real quick about how it all got started. I'm a chiropractor, and I took out massive student loans to pay for my education. This is me at graduation with my parents in 2010. And at that time, I was a little over $150,000 in debt. When I first started repaying my student loans, my payment on the standard 10-year plan was about $1,700 a month. And I paid that for almost 2 years because I honestly just didn't know any better, and I wanted to pay off my debt as quickly as possible. I remember doing the math, and over 10 years, I would repay about $204,000, which meant $54,000 of interest. That's crazy, right? So I felt a lot like the guy in this cartoon, only he had 5 figures of student loan debt and mine was in the 6 figures. I had to move in with my parents for over a year while starting my practice because I couldn't afford to pay rent at my office and an apartment at the same time. I know a lot of you can relate to this. In fact, if you can relate so far, put your name or just give me a I can relate in the chat box here. Yup. Katrina says yup. Autumn says yes. Brian, Zach, Michael, Bonnie, Janine, Becca, Suzanne, Haley, Kelly. I mean, we're Jody, Eugene, Jennifer, Ashley, Bradley, Autumn, Philip, Ronald, Joel. I can't even read these fast enough. Debbie says yes. George, Deanna, I get it, you guys. You know, and Deanna says that's why I'm here. Exactly, and that's why I'm here as well. I'm so dedicated to helping you guys with this. So let's continue on. By 2013, I was 3 years into practice. I decided it was a good time to try to buy my first home. So I started running the numbers with a broker to see what kind of mortgage I could even qualify for. And can you guys guess what happened? Yep. The broker basically told me that my income was good, but my debt to income ratio was way messed up because of the student loans. I was seriously, I mean, I was crushed, you guys. I was so excited when I went into the bank. I was feeling like I was doing well in life. My practice was going well. My income was good. And I walked out of the bank. Honestly, I felt like a failure. The real hidden cost of my college debt hit me big time. So I wanted to make sure my student debt never held me back again. And I started doing some research online and calling my loan servicer. And I found out I could cut my about $1,700 a month student loan payment to under $500 a month by switching from the standard 10-year plan to an income-driven repayment plan. So that's what I did. I switched from the standard plan to an income-driven plan, and that lowered my payment enough to help me qualify for the mortgage. That was the good news. The bad news was a few months passed, and I started to notice that my debt was actually growing, even though I was making monthly payments on time. But since I was now paying a mortgage, I couldn't afford to switch back to the 10-year plan, which meant I was stuck. I was frustrated, I was confused, and honestly, I was angry at the student loan system. I was constantly worried about my finances. I figured out that my balance was going back up because I was stuck in the black hole of student loan debt. And so many of you are in exactly the same situation right now. The income-driven repayment plans have you make 20 to 25 years of payments. If your payment is less than the interest, your balance will actually grow over time. And most people have no clue to expect a huge tax bill at the end of it all, which in some cases could be well over $100,000. I've seen estimated tax bills for this over $250,000. It's crazy. I was stuck in exactly this black hole scenario. So over 25 years of payments on an income-driven plan, I'd wind up paying over $100,000 more than I borrowed. Almost 100% of those monthly payments would go towards just the interest, which meant my balance would never go down, and I'd be stuck with a six-figure tax bill at the end of it all. That's not forgiveness, you guys. But as I was doing my research about the income-driven repayment plan so I could qualify for the mortgage, I came across some information online about the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. My heart started beating faster when I read about how I could stay on my income-driven plan, but get my loans erased 15 years faster, so 10 instead of 25 years, and there would be no tax bill on the forgiven debt. But then I read these 3 requirements for PSLF. And since I didn't work for the government or a nonprofit at the time, I didn't have qualifying employment. And I didn't think there was ever any way that I was going to be eligible for PSLF. So now, you know how some people cross your path and they change your whole direction in life? Yes, that's me with no beard. But you know, these people, they could be your teachers, they could be a mentor, they could be a business partner, or just a really close friend, right? Well, my whole life changed when I met this amazing 4-year-old girl named Caroline. I remember like it was yesterday. It was October 2013. My new patient had just arrived. She was about 6 months pregnant and under a crazy amount of stress. She brought her daughter with her to the appointment, and I could tell right away, I mean, I think we can all tell that this sweet little girl had a serious health issue. She was as bald as I am. And the first thing her mom said to me when we sat down for the consultation was, "My 4-year-old daughter, Caroline, has stage 4 cancer." Can you even imagine? For those of you who are parents, or even if you're not a parent, I don't mind telling you, I've had a lot of emotional experiences in practice, but this one really got to me. I had a 2-week-old baby boy at home at the time, so this hit me hard. I did everything I could to look strong during this appointment, but I broke down as soon as they left. I just could not imagine the physical, emotional, and financial stress that this family was going through, and I wanted to help them out as much as I could. So it's why I became a doctor. I came home that night. I kissed my perfect sleeping newborn son on the forehead. I was so grateful he was healthy. And I decided that night that I was not going to let finances stand in the way of this family getting the care they needed. That wasn't new. I'd provided discounted and sometimes even pro bono care for people with special circumstances in the past. But this little girl really sparked something powerful within me personally. And let me just say that most people don't come back from a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, right? But I am so happy to say that Caroline did it. Here's a more recent picture of her with her little sister. As of December of 2021, Caroline is 7 years cancer-free. She's off all her medications, back in school, her hair is back. Can I get like heck yes in the chat box? Who's excited about this? All right. Woohoo! Bonnie says woohoo! Hell yes! Allison. Autumn says adorable. There's a heart from Mandy. Robin says woohoo! Chris, Bailey, Aaron, Misty, Jasmine, Zach, Deanna, Katrina, Haley. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for the feedback. I love this. I feed off it. So at any rate, so fueled by this amazing experience with this brave and beautiful little girl, I decided to give back to our community on a greater scale and create a nonprofit arm of my practice with a mission of expanding access to care for even more deserving people in my community. But it was about a year after I first decided to start a nonprofit when I felt like I was struck by lightning. I had this just eureka moment when I realized that I might now be eligible for public service loan forgiveness. Working for the government or a nonprofit was my only obstacle, and I'd reverse engineered that requirement by starting my own. I'd stumbled on a way to make the world a better place and get my student loans erased. So I spent the next 2 years spending hundreds of hours doing research, combing through every detail on my master promissory note, which is the contract we all got when we took out our student loans. I was reading student loan related blogs and forums, calling my student loan servicing company and documenting the entire process to make sure I was doing everything right. It was exhausting, but at the end of the day, it was worth it. I was eventually able to qualify for public service loan forgiveness, and I'm going to now show you now exactly how I did it. So that's my background. That's how I became a student loan expert. But I discovered all of this the hard way by trial and error. Nobody was guiding me through the process. You know what? Eden says she can't see the screen. Maybe somebody can help with that. But anyway, so I did it the hard way. You guys don't have to. It was expensive and it was exhausting, but that's the hard way. You don't have to do that. I'm going to show you the fast and easy way to qualify for total, complete, unlimited student loan forgiveness in 3 simple steps. First, a quick disclaimer. This is my lawyer. Actually, for those of you who don't know, he's not really a lawyer. He just plays one on the TV show Suits, but he wants me to tell you that I'm not an attorney, tax specialist, or financial advisor. This web class is for educational purposes. There's no guarantee that you'll qualify for student loan forgiveness by watching this presentation. Now, all of that being said, I believe that knowledge is power. And I have done my very best to use the last several years of my experience to create the most clear and accurate presentation on how to qualify for public service loan forgiveness that's ever been created. And it's my sincere hope that this information helps empower you. I know firsthand how good it feels to qualify for PSLF, and I know this information has the power to change your life if you take action on it. So I love this image. You can see here on the left that this person had $212,159 of student loan debt before PSLF, and after they're showing a current balance of 0 because they were able to get their entire student debt erased. Now, let's all take a deep breath. I want you guys to take a second to just check in and think about what it would mean to you and to your family if you could lower your monthly payment, qualify for PSLF, and get your student debt erased. What would you do with the extra income? Would you buy a house? Would you go on that dream vacation? Would you start saving for retirement? I want you to know that all of that is possible. Think about how much of a relief it would be to know that you won't have that black cloud of student loan debt following you everywhere you go for the next 20 to 25 years. Think about how nice it will be to never have to deal with your student loan servicer ever again. I want all of these things for you, and I want to help you get there. Okay, you guys, so now is the goal. These are the 3 requirements to qualify for PSLF. I'm going to show you how to meet each of these 3 requirements as fast as possible and save a ton of money on your student loans. This is the only training of its kind. I'm so excited to share this information with you. So let's jump in to step number 1. First, you need to make sure that you have qualifying loans. There's actually 4 different types of federal student loans called Stafford, Perkins, FFEL, and direct loans. Only direct loans qualify for PSLF. Direct loans are about 80% of our $1.6, $1.7 trillion student loan debt in the US. So most people already meet this requirement, but 15% of people who have been denied for PSLF didn't qualify simply because they had the wrong type of loans. And that's really sad because this is such an easy fix. You can see here on the Fed Loan Servicing website that as long as direct is the first word in your student loan type, it will qualify for PSLF. Also notice at the bottom, let me see if I can put an arrow. It says that you can consolidate your non-eligible federal student loans into a direct consolidation loan to make them eligible for PSLF. Direct consolidation is a free process that will turn Stafford, Perkins, and FFEL loans into direct loans so that anybody can meet this requirement. Now, the one caveat, 2 caveats I want to add to this. Number 1, I understand that there are a significant number of people probably on this email list from Fullscript that are in Canada. Hi, and welcome. If you got your student loans here in the US, we can still work with you to get those loans erased. However, if you have Canadian student loans, or if you have what are called private student loans, so if you refinanced with a bank or a company like SoFi or something like that, you don't have federal student loans anymore, and unfortunately, we cannot help you get federal student loans back. So this isn't going to be able to work for you, unfortunately. But most people have no idea what type of student loans they have. So I had no idea what type of loans I had when I graduated. You can access your student loan data for free by logging into studentaid.gov. When you download your student loan data, it's going to be this really long, confusing, complicated document. But near the top, you'll see lines that look like this. This is a screenshot of an actual student loan data from someone I've helped to qualify for public service loan forgiveness, who was in exactly the same financial black hole that I was in, and so many of you said that you guys are in as well. This person graduated in 2008 and bounced around between deferral and forbearance before winding up on an income-driven repayment plan. And you can see with the red arrows there that this person has $97,523 of principal debt plus another $58,000. Oh, you know what? Let's go back. Those are the red arrows. $58,814 of interest. That's crazy, right? So you can also see here, now I'm going to put these red arrows back, that this person has a combination of FFEL and federal Perkins loans. But if you and direct loans. So if you follow those federal Perkins and FFEL lines all the way to the end, you'll see that those balances are now 0 because they did a direct consolidation. So they turned their Perkins and FFEL loans into direct subsidized and direct consolidated unsubsidized. Well, actually, they're both direct consolidated unsubsidized loans. So it's a direct consolidated unsubsidized principal and interest. But by doing that, by doing the direct consolidation, it made their debt eligible for public service loan forgiveness. So that's the first step. We need to make sure that you have direct loans. Step 2 is to make sure that you have that you're enrolled in a qualified repayment plan. So there's actually 4 different types of income-driven repayment plans. I'll show you here, and they're called income contingent repayment, ICR, income-based repayment, IBR, pay-as-you-earn, PAYE, and revised pay-as-you-earn, REPAYE. Now, all these plans will have you make 20 to 25 years of monthly payments. Again, at that point, any remaining debt does get forgiven, but the forgiven debt gets taxed as income. And one of the best benefits of these plans is that if your income is low enough, your payment could even be 0. and you would stay in good standing without needing to go into deferral, forbearance, default, or collections. Now, I've underlined in green here, you can see in this chart that the payee and repayee plans, PAYE and REPAYE, that those plans offer the lowest payment at just 10% of your discretionary income. But only one of these plans comes with another super important secret benefit that could save you thousands of dollars in and of itself. So remember the financial black hole we've been talking about? The repay plan comes with 2 super valuable interest subsidies, which make it so that even if your monthly payment is less than the accruing interest, your debt grows at less than half the pace it would normally, which means you'll have a far smaller tax bill and could save you thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, even if you don't wind up wanting to go down the path of qualifying for public service loan forgiveness. So with the revised pay-as-you-earn plan, you'll have a 100% unpaid interest forgiveness or subsidy on subsidized loans for the first 3 years, and then a 50% unpaid interest forgiveness on both subsidized and subsidized loans for the rest of the time you spend enrolled in the repay plan. In other words, let's say if there's $800 a month of interest on your loans and your payment is $300, normally your debt would grow by that $500 a month. But with the repay plan and the 50% unpaid interest subsidy, you'd only see your debt grow by $250 a month instead of $500 a month. That alone over 10 years would save you $30,000. The best part is you can change your repayment plan for free with the IDR application online through studentloans.gov, which only takes about 10 minutes. So my buddy Jesse and I met at chiropractic school. He was actually in one of the first people that I took through this process. When I reviewed his student loans, it turned out he was not in the best repayment plan. So I told him about the revised pay-as-you-earn plan, showed him exactly how to make the switch, and guess what? He sent me this amazing email. He was so excited. He said, "Hi, Ian. Just want to let you know that my payments went from $974 to $149. That in and of itself is a huge help. Thanks for your guidance." You guys, I think I got as excited as he did because I did a little math. And so by saving $825 a month for 10 years, he's going to keep $99,000 in his pocket. And that doesn't even include the loan forgiveness. That's just from making sure he was in the best possible repayment plan, you guys. So can you see how powerful this is? It adds up fast, right? And he's not the only example. So Amber's monthly payment went from $1,600 a month to just $150 a month, saving her over $17,000 in just the first year. Luis saw his payment, there we go. Luis saw his monthly payment drop from $680 for 30 years on an extended repayment plan to $270 a month for just 10 years on the revised pay-as-you-earn plan with PSLF. Now, this kind of savings is actually not uncommon for doctors and other professionals with over $100,000 of student loan debt. So that brings us to the third and final requirement for PSLF, which is qualifying employment. Only government and nonprofit employees are eligible. So when I read this last requirement, my heart sank because I didn't work for the government or a nonprofit, which meant I didn't have qualifying employment, and I didn't think there was any way that I would be eligible for PSLF. Working for the government or a nonprofit was my biggest obstacle. And again, I'd reverse engineered this requirement by starting my own. The answer was right in front of me the whole time, and it was so simple. You don't have to quit your job and go work for the government or a nonprofit to qualify for PSLF. You can start your own with a dual purpose: to make the world a better place and get your student loans erased. I can tell you from experience that starting a nonprofit and qualifying for PSLF has been one of the most personally, professionally, and ironically, one of the most financially rewarding things that I have ever done. So based on my own experience, I started a program called the Student Loan Eraser, which helps doctors and other professionals to start a nonprofit, expand access to their services for people in need, and meet the 3 requirements to qualify for PSLF within about 90 days. The Student Loan Eraser is a proven system that has helped start over 400 nonprofits, allow them to expand access to their care, make the world a better place, and get, it's still mind-blowing to me, $100 million in student loan debt erased. So hopefully you're super excited with this. But at this point, a lot of people ask me, they say, "Hey, Ian, I get the strategy and it's awesome, but I already have a full-time job or I run my own business. how can I possibly integrate a nonprofit into that? Okay, guys, you're busy. I totally get it. But first, I want to remind you that in a few minutes, I'm going to give you a URL where you can schedule a free phone call with me, and we can go over all the specific details of your situation to make sure that the strategy will be a good fit for you. Also, this strategy is it's so easy to integrate because basically all you're going to do is provide the same service you're providing now, but at a discount for those who qualify. And you get to decide who qualifies. You don't even have to provide your services for free. So there was a time when I didn't really know what a nonprofit was or how they worked. So let me take a quick second to explain. A nonprofit is a charity. A nonprofit or a charity with 501c3 status is a form of business that provides a qualified public service, and they're exempt from paying corporate taxes. And people who donate to these organizations can take a tax write-off. About 75% of hospitals in the US are actually nonprofits with 501c3 status. And so that means when an MD graduates with $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 of student loan debt or more and goes to work at one of these hospitals, as long as they have direct loans on an income-driven repayment plan, their debt will be erased tax-free with PSLF. It's crazy, right? But these nonprofit hospitals, they still charge a fee and they bill insurance like any for-profit hospital, and they use the income that those fees generate to pay the hospital's expenses, including everyone's salary. The mission of these nonprofit hospitals is to provide access to quality medical care for their communities. That's exactly the same model we are using. So have you ever taken a new patient through your initial process and made recommendations only to hear the 4 dreaded words, "I can't afford it"? It happens to all of us. It's not a bad thing. It's nothing to be ashamed of. I know some people use that as an excuse, but there are a lot of people who are legitimately living paycheck to paycheck, right? So what do you do in that situation? Do you turn them away? Do you refer them to somebody else who charges less? Or do you sometimes provide your services to people at a discount? Is there anybody right now who's not paying your full fee because they had special circumstances and you just wanted to help them out? Maybe you give a discount for those with low income or people who don't have insurance or families or active military and veterans or police officers, firefighters, or other special groups. So if you've ever discounted your care for someone in need, you've provided a public service, which means you're already doing the majority of what it takes to qualify for public service loan forgiveness. Expanding access to your services through a nonprofit by providing a discount for people in need allows you to qualify for PSLF, which is a huge win-win, right? You get to make the world a better place and get your student loans erased. The main point I want to make here is that time is not the obstacle. The only thing standing between you and financial freedom from your student loan debt is the fact that you haven't set up a nonprofit, or at least not yet. So let me show you a little, before we go on, first of all, I want to make sure that you guys are all with me. Can we go to the chat box and just say with you, Ian, I'm with you, or just with you. All right. Lisa's with me, Michelle's with me, Valley, Cassia, I hope I'm saying that right. Allison, Brian, Autumn, Deanna, Misty, Zach, Bradley, Julia, Robin. Okay, you guys, you're coming in fast. I love it. Jane, Miriam, you guys are amazing. Thank you. I'm so glad that you're still with me. Sometimes I feel like I go so fast. But let me show you a bit more about how this works specifically. So once your nonprofit is set up, when someone pays the discounted fee, it goes straight into the nonprofit bank account. That money will then be used to pay you a salary. So not only will you be able to meet the requirements to qualify for PSLF, you'll also have an additional source of income. The paycheck doesn't need to be much. You can even start at minimum wage, but your paycheck from the nonprofit is proof that you meet the qualifying employment requirement for public service loan forgiveness. So do you guys see how this process works? I love this. So I hope you just had an aha moment right now, like the light bulb just went off for you, and that was the experience that I had. So by starting a nonprofit, you'll put yourself in a position to help more people, to make the world a better place, qualify for public service loan forgiveness, and get your student loans erased in exchange for that community service. All right, guys, now this is the most important slide of the whole presentation. Let's do a quick summary. And this is how to qualify for total, complete, unlimited student loan forgiveness in 3 simple steps, okay? These are the 3 requirements to qualify for public service loan forgiveness. So step 1 is to log into studentaid.gov and download your student loan data to see what type of loans you have. If you already have direct loans, you're good to go. If you have FFEL, Stafford, or Perkins loans, you may want to consider a direct consolidation. And again, that's a free process that will turn those other loans into direct loans and make them eligible for PSLF. The direct consolidation application is free at studentaid.gov, and it only takes about 30 minutes. Now, step 2 is to make sure you're enrolled in an income-driven repayment plan. And the plan called Repay, Revised Pay As You Earn, is usually going to be the best for almost everyone. You can switch repayment plans for free with an easy online application also through studentaid.gov. It only takes about 10 minutes. So you can meet those first 2 requirements for PSLF in under an hour. And then step 3 is to start a nonprofit to expand access to your services for people in need in your community. Once your nonprofit is established and you're on payroll, you'll meet that 3rd qualifying employment requirement for PSLF. Now, the shortest distance between 2 points is what? Can you guys answer that question in the chat box? What's the shortest distance between 2 points? Yeah, Miriam's right. A line, a straight line. Thanks, Allison. Steven says black hole. You might be right, my man. But I agree with Miriam, Deanna, Allison, Alessandra, Teresa. Everyone's saying straight line. You got. I like that answer. But yeah, the shortest distance between 2 points, at least in math or physics, is a straight line to my level of understanding. But I didn't take a straight line to qualify for PSLF. There was nobody guiding me. I was in that black hole. I had to figure out all of this by my own research, trial and error, and that's the hard way. And you don't have to become a student loan expert like I did. I also had no idea how to hire the right lawyer to help me start a nonprofit and get 501c3 status with the IRS. But after I was able to qualify for PSLF, I had a few colleagues who asked me for help through the process, and the Student Loan Eraser program was born. So here's the really crazy thing, you guys. I took this directly from studentaid.gov, which is the official website for the US Department of Education. And you can see it says public service loan forgiveness. There's now a limited waiver opportunity. On October 6th of 2021, the US Department of Education announced a change to the PSLF program rules for a limited time as the result of the COVID-19 national emergency. Now, I circled the most important part here in the green box where it says, now for a limited period of time, borrowers may receive a credit for past payments on loans that would not otherwise qualify for PSLF. They go on to explain that under the new rules, any prior payment made will count as a qualifying payment, regardless of the loan type, repayment plan, or whether the payment was made in full or on time. All you need is qualifying employment. So basically, it doesn't even matter anymore if you had direct loans or if you were enrolled in an income-driven repayment plan. You may be able to get the past several months or even years to count towards PSLF if you've been working for the government or a nonprofit during that time. If you haven't, the time clock for PSLF will start from the moment that you do. So before October 6th of last year, the government had erased a little over $300 million with PSLF. Since October 6th, because of this limited opportunity waiver, the government has now erased over $5 billion of debt, tax-free, with PSLF. The reason I'm showing you this is because you might be thinking that you have way too much student loan debt, and there's no way it can all get erased tax-free. But the truth is, I've personally helped hundreds of doctors and health professionals, each with multiple 6 figures of student loan debt, to qualify for PSLF, and I want you to know that there's hope. That's what I want you to take away from this web class. So I have a colleague named Chuck. He was the past president of the San Diego chapter of the California Chiropractic Association. I sat on the board with him for a time. He reached out to me because he was super excited by the idea that he may qualify for student loan forgiveness. When we first spoke, he said, The mountain of student loan debt was like a black cloud that loomed over the rest of my life. I saw no way out. My debt did nothing but grow. How many of you feel like that? After he qualified for PSLF, he said, "Your program has given me hope that I will one day be free of this debt and able to live the rest of my life with joy and peace." It was so well organized that I felt someone was there constantly helping me cross every T and dot every I. So grateful. You can tell how relieved he is, right? Like, how would you like this for this to be your story a few months from now? How much of a relief would that be for you? I know this sounds crazy, but since most of the student loan eraser clients have been chiropractors, naturopathic doctors, PTs, dentists, acupuncturists, and other professionals with student debt in the six-figure range, student loan eraser clients have been able to qualify for an average savings of $267,432. It's crazy. And some of them have saved 2 or 3 times that amount. So I want to quickly introduce you to a few of those people. This is Dr. Liz. She used this information to qualify for PSLF and is expected to save $438,000. This is Dr. Emily. She qualified for $400,000 in savings with PSLF. In fact, she was so excited, she sent me this message. She said, "My experience with Dr. Hoffman and the PSLF program has been spectacular. Knowing what I know now about how complex the paperwork is and how specific everything has to be filled out in order to qualify, I would never consider going through this process without the help of the modules. It's a step-by-step program. All the hard work has been done for you." Emily is actually a perfect example of how easy I've made this for you, because she was actually at the end of her pregnancy when she started this process. So if she can qualify for PSLF with full-time work and a newborn, you can do it too. Now, this is Dr. Shea. She's a chiropractor. She's a really good friend. In fact, I believe I gave her first adjustment, or one of her first adjustments. After having care with, in my office, she decided to become a chiropractor. I love Shea. She used this information to qualify for PSLF, and she is expected to save $300,000. Now, all of these are doctors, but just these 3 people are going to save more than $1 million combined with the exact same process that I've shared with you today. It doesn't matter if you have $50,000 or $500,000 of student loan debt. I know how life-changing getting that debt erased is going to be for you. So the student loan eraser, let's do that again. There we go. The student loan eraser is a practically done for you system designed to guide you through the process of starting a nonprofit and meeting the 3 requirements to qualify for PSLF within an average of 90 days. The program includes full access to the membership site with 8 super easy to follow video training modules that will walk you through each and every step in the process of starting a nonprofit and qualifying for public service loan forgiveness. We start with a student loan assessment, so I'll personally let you know if you need to consolidate and if you will save money by switching to a different income-driven repayment plan. Module 1 has instructions for downloading your student loan data and videos walking you through the direct consolidation and the income-driven repayment applications to make it super easy for you to follow along. Once we know that you meet the first 2 requirements for PSLF, we'll then jump on a call in Module 2 to design your nonprofit. We'll talk about the services you're going to provide, who qualifies as a nonprofit patient, the communities or groups you feel called to serve, and we'll create the mission statement. So you'll have a really clear vision for how the nonprofit is going to work and how it's going to function right from that call. After that, my team will write the articles of incorporation for your nonprofit and submit that to the state. They'll get the tax ID. When all of that comes back, they'll send the necessary documents to the IRS for 501c3 status. The legal, state, and IRS fees are 100% included. That's about a $2,000 value, so there's no wasted time interviewing CPAs or law firms, trying to figure it out on your own. And running a nonprofit is different from a for-profit. So one of the major things that you get is compliance training. There's this article in nonprofitquarterly.org that said 6 months of compliance for nonprofit executives costs between $4,000 and $30,000 on average. And that is 100% included in the student loan eraser. So it's not just a series of videos that you watch and follow along by yourself. You get unlimited support along the way, provided by both the legal team that will process all the paperwork for you and by me personally. I've also got a couple of bonuses for you guys today. Bonus number one is access to this giant library of templates, forms, checklists, everything that you're going to need, so you don't have to recreate the wheel. You'll get things like a fill-in-the-blank donation receipt you can give to people who donate to your nonprofit so they can take a tax write-off. There's a ton of valuable resources in there. And bonus number two is lifetime access to the private Facebook group with over 200 other Student Loan Eraser graduates to share resources, ideas, information, and ongoing community support. So the Student Loan Eraser also comes with a 100% money back guarantee. As crazy as that sounds, I guarantee that after you complete the program, you will meet the 3 requirements to qualify for PSLF, or you get a full refund. So there's nothing to lose and potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars to gain. Now, Richard was so excited to qualify for PSLF. He wrote this on my Facebook page that same day. He said, just got my letter from Fed Student Loan. He meant Fed Loan Servicing, that my loans are now on forgiveness track. I've already made 18 of the 120 qualifying payments. Easy process, easy setup. They had my back at every turn. Thank you, Dr. Hoffman and team. Jeremy said, hi all, I'm excited to announce that Fed Loan just got back to me and I'm qualified for PSLF. Stephanie said, this program is turnkey. All you have to do is show up. What a relief to know that you can do all the good you're already doing and get that astronomical student loan debt erased tax-free in 10 years, 15 years faster than the income-driven repayment programs. Michelle said, got my letter qualifying for PSLF today. Such great news to really brighten my week. How excited will you be to go to your mailbox and open that letter and see that you're on the fast track to total tax-free student loan forgiveness? It is an amazing feeling. Now, Justin Moody is a dentist. He was so excited after he started his nonprofit. He sent me this video. You can find it at erasemystudentloans.com/testimonials. But in his video, he said, when I took my paperwork to my accountant at the end of the year, he was amazed at how we were able to form a nonprofit so quickly. He said that it was well put together, and if done through his office and a local attorney, it could have cost more than $20,000. Now, guys, even though there's more than $20,000 of value in this program, and maybe some of you would be able to afford that, I designed the Student Loan Eraser to be way more affordable than you might think. In fact, with legal, state, and IRS fees included, the Student Loan Eraser program is only about 2% of what my average client is able to save. Now, I have prepay and monthly options available, but I don't want to get it too much deeper into any of that or the pricing, because I'm not actually trying to sell anything on this web class. I don't want you to sign up just yet. If you're interested, I want to speak with you personally to make sure that you get all your questions answered and that the Student Loan Eraser is going to be the best strategy for your situation. So I've created a link specifically for those of you who have stayed to the end of this web class, where you'll find a bunch of free student loan resources, a link to schedule a free call with me. For those of you who are not yet using Fullscript, I highly recommend their platform. In fact, you can even have your nonprofit sell supplements as a stream of income. So it's a huge win-win. Head on over to erasemystudentloans.com, www.erasemystudentloans.com/Fullscript. I'll give you a link for the free consultation, along with a link to set up a free Fullscript account if you don't already have one. I really hope you guys take advantage of this opportunity to schedule a call with me. I opened up a bunch of spots over the next few weeks, and I would love to connect with you. But I think we had around 2,500 doctors register for this web class. And obviously, I'm not going to be able to answer everyone's questions one-on-one. So let's jump into some group Q&A here. And as soon as you can, jump on over to www.erasemystudentloans.com/Fullscript and grab one of those free consultations. Kaylee?
Yes, hello, and you are right. We have a ton of questions coming through. So again, we definitely won't have time to get to them all, but there's a link. I put the link in our chat too, so you can head right to erasemystudentloans.com/Fullscript there. And there'll be some follow-up emails, as I said at the beginning, to kind of further answer any questions we can. So let's kick it off with a couple. I was trying to kind of group them together and the questions that are coming through, and a lot have come through about qualifying for PSLF. Now, they may have been asked at the beginning, so you may have touched on them towards the end, but I thought we should bring them up anyway, just kind of repeat them again too. This is being recorded, so everyone will get access to this recording afterwards as well. So the first kind of question that came through, a couple of them, were, is there a set number of hours per week, month, year that one needs to work at a nonprofit to qualify?
Yeah, that's a great question. So qualifying employment, they do want you to be a full-time employee of the nonprofit, which is 30 hours a week. But the benefit of starting a nonprofit instead of going to work at one is that you're the boss. You get to decide how you spend that time. And one of the things that we do in the Student Loan Eraser program is look at work that you're already doing and time that you're already spending, and do what we can to make minor changes to get as much overlap as possible. You know, I was full-time in practice and I was able to qualify. We've started over 400 nonprofits. Everyone is in that same position where they have full-time work or they run their own business, and we're able to do the nonprofit and meet the requirements for PSLF ethically on top of that. So there's lots of examples. Again, the Student Loan Eraser is 8 modules. Module 7, I talk about a bunch of different strategies for how to get those hours. But I like to joke that, and it's a truth joke, but you know, you could be posting about the nonprofit on Facebook on Saturday from home in your PJs, and that time is going to count. Anything that you do for the nonprofit and anywhere you do it will count towards that requirement. Great question.
That actually kind of brings into the next question. How long back does the employment requirement go? If they used to work, can they use work from prior to the start of the program to qualify?
Yeah. So I will help you do that. That's what the limited opportunity waiver has allowed for. Before October 6th of 2021, there was no going backwards. It was just from this point forward, you know, your countdown starts. Now, we can look backwards and say, even if you didn't have direct loans, or even if you weren't on the right repayment plan, as long as you had qualified employment, we can likely get that time to count towards PSLF. So that's something that's also included in the Student Loan Eraser. When someone signs up for me with the Student Loan Eraser program, if you have had qualified employment at any point in the past, let me know, and I will do everything in my power to help get that time to count for you.
And there's also a question about if you already work or work part-time for a nonprofit, is there a minimum you need to make to qualify? Also, can an independent contract for a nonprofit qualify?
Great question. Only employees. So even if you volunteer 50 hours a week for a nonprofit, it doesn't work. So you do have to be employed by the nonprofit. And what was the other question?
And kind of, yeah, another part to it, I guess, was, can an independent contract for a nonprofit qualify?
That's the part I answered. No independent contractors,
Oh,
only employees. What was the first part?
the first part was, and I think you answered it kind of too, is that, is there a minimum amount that you have to make by working for the nonprofit or to qualify?
Yeah, minimum wage laws apply. So what I typically do in starting this is 30 hours a week at minimum wage is going to be the minimum requirement. And in California, minimum wage is higher than other areas. I've seen that be just under $1,000 a month, and I've seen it be as high as about $1,500 a month. So that's usually the range that I give. But even if it's at around $1,500 a month, in my regular practice, I was charging $60 per visit. In the nonprofit, I was giving $30. So at $30 a visit, you really would only have to see 12 or 13 visits a week to collect that $1,500 a month, and the whole thing goes on autopilot. And again, almost all of that money goes to you in your paycheck. Great question.
And this is an interesting question, actually. Can we partner with other practitioners to start a nonprofit, or does it have to be in our name?
That is a good question. So I do have a couple of different options for the Student Loan Eraser. You can partner. I only offer this to spouses or to people that are already business partners that function out of the same office or under the same business in the same community. So it's not like, you know, Jason from Texas and his buddy John from Arizona can start one nonprofit together and, and share the fee. But if you already are partners, or, it's a husband and wife or spouse situation, absolutely we can do that. Anyone else who joins your nonprofit, and actually this is a really good point, anyone who joins is just $997. They get everything in the student loan eraser, except for we only start one nonprofit. So there's no additional legal, state, and IRS fees for me to pay, and I pass all of that savings on to you guys. So I've had, for example, an acupuncturist who had 11, she had a huge office. I think she even had multiple offices in the same community. And she had 11 acupuncturists who were working for her. And we were able to start one nonprofit and get her entire team to qualify. And so a lot of my clients are actually using this as an amazing employee benefit and employee retention strategy, because imagine if you start a nonprofit and you hire another doctor to work for you, you could potentially offer them the opportunity for student loan forgiveness, and they would have to stay on your team for the 10 years to get their student loans erased. So it's a huge win-win. If I were right out of school right now, and all other things being equal, I found a job that, 2 different offices, they were both going to pay the same salary. One offered health insurance and the other offered student loan forgiveness. I'd probably go for the student loan forgiveness at this point. But great questions, you guys. I love it.
And there's even more coming through too. So this one kind of relates to if you have to be a licensed practitioner to qualify. And then the second part is, does the nonprofit have to be in the same field that you went to school for?
Okay, great question. So you don't necessarily have to be a licensed practitioner of anything to qualify, but you can't offer a service that requires a license through the nonprofit and not have a license. It doesn't circumnavigate those laws. So, and then to answer the other question, we've started nonprofits for chiropractors, naturopathic doctors, dentists, acupuncturists. It doesn't even have to be in healthcare. The requirement is that you work for a nonprofit that has 501c3 status. What services that nonprofit provides doesn't actually matter. But because of the 30-hour-a-week requirement, because of how I teach to integrate this as quickly and easily as possible, typically what I recommend is that the nonprofit should offer the same service you're providing in your for-profit, but for a select population to expand access to that service at a discount for those who qualify. I hope that makes sense.
I'm going to move on to some other topics too, because I feel like we could probably stay on that for a while. But one question came through about IDR and the tax bill. So does the tax bill on IDR come annually? And then what's the best way to decide whether to file as a married joint versus married filing separately?
Good question. Good. Both are good. So can we do those one at a time, just so I have them fresh?
So the first kind of I know I should have separated them.
That's okay.
It's more of like how and when the tax bill comes. So does the tax bill on IDR come annually?
No, it's all at once, because you don't get annual forgiveness. So when you're on an income-driven repayment plan, depending on the plan, normally if for a grad school degree, you're on a 25-year plan when you're on an income-driven repayment plan. After you hit 25 years, anything that's left gets forgiven, but at that time you'll be issued 1099-C. I'm not an accountant. I don't remember exactly what it is, but basically you will be required at that time to pay taxes on the forgiven debt as if you earned the income that year. So it's all or nothing. It's all at the same time. It's not incremental over those years. But at that time, the drawback of it not being incremental is that now all of a sudden, last year you might have had a small tax bill, and then you got your loans erased, and now you have $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 tax bill to deal with. Can you make monthly payments to the IRS? Absolutely. They charge interest too. So it's almost like you'll be back where you started. I know that I graduated with $150,000 of student loan debt. If I made my minimum payments, I'd have had about $150,000 tax bill. right back where I started 25 years later. Crazy. So this is what I designed to help you get out of that trap. You know, and I joke, but it's true. There's really only a couple ways to get out of your student loan debt. You can pay them off. You can go the 25 years and save for that tax bill. You can qualify for PSLF, or you can die trying. Those are the four options, as morbid as that sounds. But, you know, of those four options, public service loan forgiveness and helping people in need along the way was the option that I personally chose, and the option that I help a lot of my clients through. What was the next question?
The next one was about deciding whether to file as a married joint versus married filing, or filing married separately, kind of thing.
And to give some context to that, the income-driven repayment plans, your monthly payment is based on your income. And so if you file joint or separately, so for example, if you're on what's called, let me actually go back up. Oop, let me go. Nope, that wasn't it. Can you guys still see my screen?
No, just I can just see the cameras now.
How's that?
Hold on, give it a sec. Sometimes it takes.
All right, well,
No.
I'm not it. We're not back on the screen.
No, it looks like it says it's waiting to view your screen, but I can try. Hold on, let me see something. Oh, there we go. You got it.
I didn't find the other one. I was going to go back to the slide that had the four different income-driven repayment plans. But so the reason I think that question was asked is that on IBR, income-based repayment, there is an option to file a separate tax return, and then your monthly payment is based on only your income. With revised pay-as-you-earn, you can't do that. It's based on your household income. So as a general rule, I would say that in the states that have community property laws, California, Washington, I believe I want to say there's like 12 or 13 states that have community property laws. It's almost never beneficial to file a separate tax return as a strategy to lower your monthly payment. In the other states, it can be a good strategy. The only time that that helps is when the person with massive student loan debt is making very little of the household income, and their spouse is bringing in the great majority of household income, and that by separating that, then the student loan payments will drop significantly, but the spouse who's making more income is going to pay more taxes when you file separately. So there's an offset to it. And that's why, you know, when someone joins the student loan eraser program, that first step is a custom student loan plan, and I'll look over those numbers and I can make much more specific advice for my clients on, you know, strategy to lower their monthly payment.
And there's a question actually on your program and your module. I know that you've said that you help set up the nonprofit, but there's a question that does this module cover how to get funding to start the nonprofit so you can start, you know, paying yourself from day one?
Great question. So that's actually kind of cool. Number one, we have it written into I think it's either the bylaws or the articles of incorporation that there are two options. The first option is that once the nonprofit has the available funds, it can actually pay you back for the nonprofit startup costs. The other option is that you can take those startup costs and write them off like a donation on your taxes, as if you donated to the nonprofit. After that, remember, you have to be on payroll for the nonprofit, from the nonprofit, to qualify for PSLF. And so one of the things we do is, let's say you already have a handful of patients that are paying less than your full fee, you start the nonprofit, we can transfer them over. So let's say, just using the biggest numbers, that your overhead in the nonprofit with your payroll and everything else is $1,500. And let's say you're able to transfer $500 that first month, and you know, you collect $500 from seeing nonprofit patients. So there's a gap of $1,000. You can actually make a tax-deductible donation to your own organization to help cover the initial expenses. So in the first month, you can donate $1,000. Now you've met the $1,500. Almost all of that, in fact, more than all of that donation will come back to you in your paycheck. And now you've met you're on payroll and that month counts towards PSLF. Now your nonprofit is growing. So let's say month 2, you collect 800. Now you only have to donate the other 7. Month 3, you collect 1,000. Now you only have to donate 500, and so on until the nonprofit is self-sufficient financially. So again, that's a strategy that I absolutely teach inside the Student Loan Eraser program. Great question. I'm so glad you brought that up. But yeah, we can actually help self-start. The IRS has a requirement that at the end of a given year, the founder can actually donate up to 2/3 of the annual revenue. So on an ongoing basis, even if you only collect 500 and you donate $1,000 a month, every month for the next 10 years, we can still get this program to work for you. Great question.
And there is actually a lot of comments about your program, and it looks like your call times have been booked up. So
they have.
You,
awesome.
yes. So,
what I'm going to do then, I'm going to throw a bunch more call times on there. I'm going to expand it into next week and probably the week after. Thank you guys. That's amazing. So check back in about an hour and you'll see a ton more available appointment times on there. I'm going to just open this thing up for you guys, give you as much as I can.
I was going to say too, I'm conscious of time, and there's so many questions we could spend all day here. And if you're going to open some more kind of spots up, and we can kind of follow up with any other questions and a recording and any other resources shortly too. So keep an eye out for a follow-up email from probably one from Fullscript with the recording, but from Dr. Hoffman as well.
Totally.
And then keep an eye on that website too for some more thoughts, I guess, or slots, or whatever phone call sessions you're offering. So
phone consultations for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I am conscious of everyone's time attending and your time, Dr. Hoffman. This was a great webinar, super engaging, great valuable points. I think that everyone will agree that it was a great presentation. Reminder to everyone who's still here, recording will be sent to you as well as on fullscript.com/webinars. You can also reach out to me at webinars@fullscript.com. But if you have questions, to head to the website on screen, and I bet you Dr. Hoffman can answer them better than I can. So I want to thank
Thank you so much to Fullscript.
Yeah, I want to thank you for taking the time for this, and we hope to see you soon, Dr. Hoffman.
Thank you so much.
All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll hope to see everyone again. Thank you.